Hey everyone, and this month we're discussing uncertainty, that state of not knowing, of being unsure about things. And this week the topic is economic uncertainty. Now, the idea for the discussion or the topic of economic uncertainty, what's going to happen with your finances, what's going to happen with the economy, the ability with your job to provide for yourself, pay your bills, and by extension, your family. What's going to happen? And the idea came about from a video I saw online. And it was a video on a discussion from one of those global organizations where they were talking about a singular currency, monetary currency that they're working on and how it would work. And the discussion was just so much panic about what's going to happen with this one currency that will eventually come out and how it's going to be controlled and who is controlling it and the evil that is in it. And it was one of panic. And watching that video, I thought of Psalm 37. When you get a chance, read Psalm 37. And the verse for this week is from Psalm 37:25, and I'm going to read it. I have been young, and now I'm old. Yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. That's the verse for this week. And let's get into the discussion question quickly. And the family discussion question, and think of it and have your discussion at home. The family discussion question is, discuss instances in the Bible where God came through for someone financially or in provision, but where God came through for someone or a group of people with regards to provision or finances. And when you're doing it, if you know the end of the story, because we're going to do a few and you'll know the end of the story, but stop and think about how those people or persons would have felt before they got their miracle then. So let's go. 2 Kings chapter 4 verses 1-7. This is with the prophet Elisha and the poor widow. And this widow, she came to Elisha. She cried out to Elisha because she had debt. She's a widow, so her husband died. And she had a debt, and the creditors were calling for her sons they were calling to take her sons as slaves because she had a debt and she couldn't pay it. Anybody ever had a debt and you couldn't pay it? And the creditors were coming to take her sons as slaves. And Elijah offered to help her. And he asked her, he said, what you had? And she had nothing but a flask of oil. And he told her, he said, go get as many jars as you could find and fill them. So she did just that. Her and her sons, they got jars. They shut the door in their house and they filled the jars. And from that one flask, the oil just poured and it flowed and it flowed and it flowed. And when that was all the jars they had, that's when the oil stopped. And how do you think she felt before she met Elisha? She had a debt she couldn't pay. They're coming to take your sons as slaves. But she had faith. And she did as the prophet would have told her. And she was able to sell it and pay off her debt. And it was enough to sustain her. And the thing is, God is concerned. Remember, God is concerned about the things that concern us. Next example, Exodus 16. And this is where God would have sent manna from heaven. And it was a month since, when you read it, it's a month since the children of Israel left Egypt. And they were complaining. Yes, they were complaining to Moses. And the thing is, as Moses as a leader, how do you think Moses felt? He was the leader who got them out of this, yes. But I mean, he would have been seeing people hungry. He would have been seeing children hungry. Someone as the head of your home, you don't want to see your dependents. You definitely don't want to see your children in need. And yes, that's when God allowed manna to fall from the sky and they had food to eat. Were you ever in a situation, a difficult situation, and it was like something or someone came out of nowhere and helped you in your situation? The thing is, listen to the voice of God. Moses was somebody who communicated with God a lot. Are we communicating with God? Last example, because time is up. Luke 5, this is with Peter and casting the net. In Luke chapter 5, Peter and his companions, they're fishermen, and they worked all night. They toiled all night, and they caught nothing. And that's how they made a living. They caught nothing. And Jesus told them, after Jesus was on the boat with them, he told them to go out and to cast their net. God pretty much told them, go and do the same thing he was doing all the time. When you were failing, go and do the same thing. It's kind of like you're sending out resumes night and day, resume. And then somebody comes and say, hey, you could send out a resume. Really? Isn't that what I've been doing all the time? But Luke 5:5. Let me read what Luke 5:5 says. And Simon answering said unto him, Master, we have toiled all night and have taken nothing. Nevertheless, at thy word. Nevertheless, at thy word, I will let down the net. Let us be obedient to God. Let us be obedient to what God says, because when they did it according to God's word, their obedience to God's word and in God's timing, they did the same thing they were doing all the time. And they caught so much fish, the net tore, and they put it in boats, and the boats started to sink. So yes, we are living in times of economic uncertainty, but it's not to panic. And we have to ask ourselves the questions: do I have the faith that the widow had? Am I communicating with God the way Moses did? And when I hear the voice of God, am I obedient? As with Peter, remember Hebrews 13:8, that Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. If he can do it for them, he can do it for you. He could do it for me. It doesn't matter time or uncertainty or state of the economy, the global economy, or whatever is the word that's being used. It doesn't matter. So even though we answer that question, I just want to stick something else in. What about our testimony? Do we have a testimony or testimonies where God would have come through for us financially? People need to hear that testimony, because God is here for us. So instead of panicking in the uncertainty, let the certainty of God take us through this time. God is not going to leave us. He's not going to forsake us. So yes, in economic uncertainty, let us continue to be certain in God. God bless you.